Hi, welcome to Superhero Rundown. I'm Lady Jess, and today we're talking about Arrow Season 1. Now, a lot might ask, why did you say he was the better Batman? It was a joke. But anyway, let's look at some of the elements of Season 1 of Arrow and see if Arrow is actually a hero like Coulson, or if he's like... what's his Hydra face? And we start our venture into the DC universe with... an explosion. Bonus points! Then we get to the declaration.
My name is Oliver Queen.
Now right away, this is a much different situation than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There is no setup. This is a cold dive into a new DC television universe, whereas S.H.I.E.L.D. was set up by events in a movie. Already we're dealing with a completely new set of questions. How do you deal with being on an island for 5 years? How did Oliver adapt to survive it? And more importantly, how do you tell your family about your experiences if you want to tell them at all? Then you have all the other questions from home. How do you get comfortable in a world that is alien to you? How does your family deal with you being lost at sea? Then you're found, and how do you process that? A lot of Season 1 is about being lost, being found, and dealing with some of the things that Oliver Queen has to deal with as he becomes Arrow. Now, in order to understand some elements of the series, you have to know some of the plot details. So, to sum up, Oliver is known as the party boy of Starling City, and he was dating Laurel Lance, Detective Lance's daughter. 5 years ago, Oliver's father, Oliver and Sarah Lance, the sister to Laurel, were lost on the Queen's Gambit, a yacht, because the Queens are rich. Oliver's father, Robert, gives Oliver a list of names and tells him to right his wrongs because he failed Starling City. Then he shoots himself in front of Oliver, who then becomes the vigilante. So remember when we talked about vigilantism? Oliver Queen takes it a bit more extreme than the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Oliver Queen is Green Arrow. He really is the shoot first, shoot some more, and then when everybody's dead, try telling people what they're going to do kind of guy. He doesn't pull his punches, he kills people outright in the first few episodes, an unforgiving nature to be sure. He's pursued by the police, and until almost halfway through the season, he keeps killing like it ain't no thing. The fight scenes are glorious, though. But what will Oliver do when he's finished with the list? So how does this pertain to real life? I mean, you're bringing up vigilantism. Isn't there some correlation between comic books and the real world? As a matter of fact, yes! His name is Phoenix Jones, and he lives in Seattle, and he's a goddamn superhero. For those who don't know, the guy is a real-life MMA fighter and a real-life vigilante who fought crime in Seattle with the group known as the Rain City Superhero Movement. That's right, there were others with him. A sort of Justice League, but with some hilarious kick-ass names like Thorn, Catastrophe, No Name, Thunder 88, and Red Dragon. They stopped false cops robbing a blind guy who wasn't Daredevil, stopped carjackings, helped vehicles stuck on highways, escorted people to their cars at night, among other things. And the greatest part of all of this? It happened in the real world and not in a comic book. He was arrested, and when he was released, Phoenix Jones said this: "I will continue to patrol with my team, probably tonight, October 13th, 2011. In addition to being Phoenix Jones, I am also Bill Fodor, father and brother. I am just like everyone else. The only difference is that I try to stop crime in my neighborhood and everywhere else. I think I have to look toward the future to see what I can do to help the city." That's right, the vigilante kept being a vigilante even when being arrested. And why did he start doing it in the first place? He wanted to be there as the crime took place, not when the police were trying to figure out who did it. He wanted to stop the criminal in the act and help those in need, like a superhero. And vigilantism is an important theme in this show.
You see, there's this vigilante running around. He thinks he's some kind of Robin Hood. He's robbing the rich. He's trying to teach them a lesson, I guess. I don't know. But the point is, the man's a killer.
So yeah, the vigilante doesn't exactly have a stellar record with police. For fuck's sake, there's a vigilante task force. But whatever, Robin Hood is brought up a lot because he takes from the 1% and helps the common man. It's a good allegory, as Robin Hood himself is usually seen as some lord or something. But for Oliver, he's righting the wrongs of his father, he's helping people and trying to deal with the transition from the island back to civilization.
What if your dad could have seen you this week? The way you cared about the people he had hurt. The way you stepped up to try to help them. I say he'd be pretty damn honored.
He's basically trying to save the city any way he can, and because he's a fighter, that's how he's helping. By donning on a hood and helping people in the city. And the statistics don't lie.
He really is a guardian angel.
Also, Felicity does bring up a good point.
But seems to me, whoever he is, he's willing to sacrifice an awful lot to help the people of the city. Kind of makes him a hero.
So there's the show dynamics and how they apply to specific characters. I'll start with characters that appear regularly and their relationships and issues with each other that real people have experienced, then move into the more fantastical. Like Batman. Shut up, I'll explain it. Let's start with Oliver himself. He can throw a party, but since he was on a deserted island, some things are lost on him.
Carmen Golden. Which one is she? The one who looks like the chick from Twilight. What's Twilight? We're so better off not knowing.
And even though he doesn't spill his secret of vigilantism to just anyone, he can be honest with Laurel. To an extent.
Right now, that's what you're doing. You're looking at me, and you're wondering if that island changed me somehow, if it made me a better person. It didn't.
But he does try to play catch up with civilization. And when he goes on dates, he's as nervous as the rest of us.
What's up with the fancy?
What? Oh, I have a date. Contrary to popular opinion, I do have a life.
And while he is the vigilante,
And how am I supposed to track him?
Well, you know us billionaire vigilantes. We do love our toys.
this is why he's a better Batman. He has arrogance, but he has fun with his arrogance. He makes brooding fun. In a weird way, shut up. But in truth, Oliver as Arrow does protect his family. It's important to him to protect his family and Laurel because Old Flame. But Thea and Moira are his priorities. And when Walter disappears, he finds the guy and brings him home as Arrow. Because he's not some monster. He may have become hardened on the island, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have heart to protect those he cares about. Leaving Oliver alone for a moment, let's talk about Diggle, his partner. Diggle starts out as Oliver's bodyguard who doesn't take to being ditched kindly. Oliver doesn't like his babysitter his mother stuck him with, but by the end of the season they are in sync, working together, and good partners to each other. Diggle's relationship with Oliver is one of hard truths.
You know, I spent the first 27 years of my life in Starling City and the next 5 in Afghanistan. You want to know what I learned?
There's no place like home.
No, just the opposite. Home is a battlefield. Back home, they're all trying to get you.
And Oliver actually connects to what Diggle says to him on numerous occasions. In episode 3, Diggle gets injured and Oliver reveals that he's Arrow. Diggle reacts by calling him a murderer, but doesn't rat him out and eventually joins him. Diggle tells Oliver that he's going to be what Oliver needs.
You are fighting a war, Queen. Except you have no idea what war does to you. How it scrapes off little pieces of your soul.
Then you have the brother-sister relationships, Oliver and Thea, and what little we know of Laurel and Sarah before the accident. Thea and Laurel have the same problem with Oliver, honesty. How do you know if your partner is being honest with you is a common parallel, or if you're the older sibling, how do you protect the younger one from the evils of the world? Drugs, sex, rock and roll. Thea is that rebellious teenager, and because she has money, she thinks it will help bail her out until the trial where she gets in trouble for that hot new drug in Sterling City, Vertigo. Now, the other important relationships in this season are parents to children, and let's start with Thea and Moira Queen. Thea trusts her mother until she thinks she started sleeping around on her father, mistrusts her, and then basically feels better when the family is reunited after Walter's disappearance, then gets sad until she meets Roy Harper, the future Red Arrow. You know, it seems atypical, but rebellious teenage attitude is something we expect from her. It's refreshing to see her care about her mother when Walter is kidnapped and see her try and get Moira back on her feet. Moira has a clear motivation, to protect Thea and Oliver no matter the cost, which we see when she gets arrested. The woman even pleads for another daughter's life to Merlyn when he's executing people for disloyalty. Next you have Detective Lance and Laurel, who basically have an on-again, stop sending your cops to kill the vigilante and hurt me off again relationship. And Detective Lance is coming from a genuine place, even if he is a sass master. He lost one daughter already. Obviously, he feels it's his duty to prevent the loss of a second daughter.
I may not like the guy's methods, but whoever this guy is, he's got a habit of putting himself between danger and you.
He even sees that the vigilante is very good at protecting her. And in a later episode, when Laurel asks her father about dating Oliver again, he even admits this.
Since Queen's been back, he's different. I'll deny ever having said that.
What I'm saying is, Laurel might hate her father's overprotectiveness, but she can talk to him. That's the good thing in their relationship. Speaking of good things, let's talk about John Barrowman. Fuck yes, John Barrowman! He plays Malcolm Merlyn, Tommy's dad. Tommy is Oliver's best friend, at least for most of the season. But before I delve into that, let's finish talking about parents. Tommy hates his dad, which I don't know why when your dad is the most fantastic time traveler to seduce David Tennant, but I digress. See, Malcolm is the villain of the season, and behind Tommy's back, he kills people, as Merlyn, the archer. Malcolm beats Oliver in their first fight. He also cuts off Tommy, and Tommy starts over from scratch, with help from Laurel, who is his girlfriend for part of the season. Malcolm always has an agenda, but Tommy just wants Malcolm to accept him, and when he realizes that his father is a cold, heartless man...
You haven't changed, and you never will. It's about time that I learned that and stopped letting you disappoint me.
But Malcolm does have a chilling backstory.
She kept calling my name, asking for help, though she was just struggling to breathe, gasping for air. I listened to my wife die over and over and over again.
And that makes him a bit more sympathetic. Not a lot, though, because he's still beating the crap out of the main character. Malcolm and Tommy reunite. Tommy works for his dad, saves his dad with his blood, and finally discovers that his dad has a plan for the Glades. Tommy goes through a lot of character development, only to die a hero by saving the one girl he loves, Laurel. Malcolm feels the loss, no doubt, but we never see it on screen. But I think this sums it up the most.
What's going on is that the three of you are getting round-the-clock police protection, okay? Get used to their faces, because they're going with you everywhere you go. No arguments.
I'm a lawyer. I live to argue.
I'm your father. I live to keep you safe.
Replace the word lawyer with child, and every parent understands this conflict right here. But now it's a quick interlude of plot as we see Malcolm versus Arrow, or as I call it, the better archer versus the better man. You decide which is which. It doesn't really matter at this point. What this really comes down to is... J. August Richards? What the fuck are you doing here? I thought you were at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Ish. Stop going to other universes, damn it! Oliver decides to break into the Merlyn Global building to stop Malcolm, which is ethical because Malcolm is the villain, but he's still breaking the law.
Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law.
Malcolm knocks him out, learns of Oliver's identity, and proceeds to convince Oliver that he's doing the right thing and killing thousands of people. Right. My favorite thing is how Malcolm says there's only one difference between them.
Because you don't know, in your heart, what you're fighting for.
And then it kicks his ass later. But in the meantime, this is the greatest idea for a superhero with a team, whether superpowered or not.
Take back every joke I've made about you sticking a tracking device in your boot.
I mean, Diggle or Batman will find you. So anyway, Detective Lance gets wind of the evil plan and puts his ass on the line to start warning people who don't believe him. And then Oliver and Diggle fight Malcolm while Felicity helps Detective Lance disarm the bomb thing. When it looks like it's hopeless, Lance calls his daughter and tells her not to make the same mistakes he did. Roy won't leave the people in the Glades because he wants to help them, and Malcolm is defeated, but Tommy is sacrificed when the other bomb goes off and destroys half the Glades. Felicity isn't in. A lot of the fight is badass, admitting of faults both on Oliver and Lance's parts, and it goes to show that even if you hate vigilantes, sometimes they have some good fucking ideas on how to help people. You know, based on the fight between Malcolm and Oliver, operating outside of the law sounds pretty good, but that's a script, a television show. In the real world, justice always seems to be predicated on revenge. The justice isn't really there. You incarcerate people and they sometimes have no change to their personality, or you kill them and they've learned nothing. Sure, social commentary can help, but in the moral sense of right and wrong, the real world is defined more by the gray smudges than by black and white lines. And Oliver's sense of justice comes from his father's book. It's that black and white in the first season until Diggle convinces him to help others that aren't on the list. He even tells Huntress straight out that she's seeking revenge.
I have weakened my father's organization to the point where there is no way that he can survive their onslaught.
What, and then you have your revenge?
Then I have justice for what he did to Michael and me.
It's not justice.
Justice seems to be only for the rich and powerful. Thea does face a trial for vertigo, but in the end she gets a deal to do community service, which is where she meets Roy. And then there's the sense of justice with live broadcasts, especially of violence. Censors can help with that, but for the most part, live broadcasts have no rules, and that was what was scary about the Savior. He was executing people on a live broadcast, and there was only terror for the ordinary citizen, not justice. Justice may be for the executor, but not for anyone else by any stretch. Arrow has a unique sense of justice as well. He kills people in the beginning, but slowly stops that tactic and goes more for the threatening and trick arrows, which I liked as a character development as well as a justice allegory. Not only that, but the entire idea of you have failed this city is important because it identifies Arrow's sense of justice. Which brings me to a very significant theme that most people deal with in their daily lives. Secrets.
Mom, Laurel, I didn't... I didn't know how painful it would be to keep my secrets.
If what you're doing isn't wrong, then why are you hiding your face with a hood?
I mean, we all have things that we want to keep to ourselves. The only way to keep this family safe is for everyone in it to stop asking questions.
Secrets are a part of Arrow's world. He can't escape them. His secret life, his past on the island is a secret from his family. He protects his identity for the sake of his family and feels they shouldn't know what he's up to. Malcolm has secrets. Moira has secrets. Thea has secrets, drugs from her friends. Walter secretly investigates Moira. In the real world, we have secrets from our friends, our family, our lovers, our co-workers, and everyone in between. Our government and media have secrets to keep us safe. Like, for instance, nuclear codes. But there are secrets out there that we have yet to uncover about our past as a civilization. There are many types of secrets, and it's up to us to figure them out. Arrow has a solid first season, but it isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination.